And we're just going to wait. There we go. So again, good afternoon, everyone. It is just after 1 o'clock, and I can confirm we do indeed have quorum. Currently absent from the meeting is Councillor Tozo, Jane Bailey, and Hanny's just joined us. Ian Clark, and so Hanny has now joined us. So just those three so far. And with all that out of the way, I am happy to turn it over to you, Vice Chair, to start the meeting. Thanks.
All right. Hi there. My name is River Hill, and I will call this meeting to order at 1:01 p.m. So our next agenda item is the approval of the agenda, if people have had time to look at it and everything. So for the approval of the agenda, can I get a mover? Jacqueline, and a seconder, Councillor Ridge. All in favor? Cool. All opposed? It doesn't seem like anyone. Okay, so that carries. And then next item is the confirmation of minutes. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? No? Okay. So once again, I'm going to call for a mover, Ian, and a seconder, Councillor Ridge. All in favor? All opposed? Nobody? Okay, cool. Okay, and I don't think we have any pecuniary interest or anything like that. All right. So I think that just goes into our delegations.
Through you, Vice Chair, there are no delegations or briefings on this meeting.
Okay, thought so. Okay, and then the next item of business is the standing update for July 2023. So I believe that's Ruth, if you want to go ahead.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, so we have our, I think you're by now hopefully used to our standing update format. I know it's always good to kind of share where things are at, and good opportunity for the committee to ask any questions. I will kind of just quickly walk through the kind of the three areas: homelessness services, social housing, and affordable housing. And of course, my colleagues are on the call as well to jump in on a few of the items. So on kind of starting with the homelessness services, we provided a bit of an overview on where we are at with the by name list. We also shared, I think, some really, although obviously we continue to have like any community, ongoing challenges with our, being able to find various solutions for our, folks that we work on that are on the by name list. As in, I should say, like, we obviously are continuing to bring together all of our partners and come up with, I think, some great solutions, but it's an ongoing, kind of challenge, just like many communities. We, however, are making some great progress still with our partners, our housing first case managers, and we've continued to be able to find housing solutions for people. So we spent some time kind of adding some information in the report for you. We also shared some updates on the overnight or the shelters and overnight drop-in centers. In particularly very pleased with an additional solution for families through Lily's Place, who has added an additional kind of building to their shelter service that's some more capacity and a better place for families. We also are actually really pleased to share that the Welcoming Streets program, which is a pilot that started in early July between the DBIA and Addictions and Mental Health Services, has been really, working very well and has really added more capacity in kind of the street outreach services. So I think, again, although there's lots of need, we also are seeing some really good new programming coming on board. Jumping to the social housing programs, every time we meet, we always provide you with an overview of kind of some of the numbers on the social housing waitlist. You will see in table 3 that we're kind of back at our historic kind of number on the centralized wait list that kind of hovers around 1,300 to 1,350 individuals pre-pandemic. So even though obviously that's not an easy list to look at, it's kind of similar to where we were pre-pandemic, and you will see that there's still some great work there with housing people, also some great information on the portable housing benefits program that we have available as well. And the Canada Ontario Housing Benefit. So we have been able to successfully provide some of those programs out to community members. I wanted to also highlight, I know this was initiated a few years ago, but that we were actually able to work closely with public health on a radon mitigation program. So we were able to test each social housing unit for radon levels, and have been able to mitigate any of the units that were above the kind of value of radon. And again, I think that has been very well received and successfully managed with our team and our colleagues at our social housing providers. We have also added a bit of information on the end of operating and end of mortgages process that we're working through. And I know we have not spent too much time with you on this topic. So I just want to ask if Mitchell Grange wants to give a little bit more information on this section of the standing update report, because it will come back a few times to this committee with some further recommendations and discussions. Mitch?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ruth. And through you, Vice Chair, good afternoon, everyone. So I believe last meeting on June 22nd, I did raise awareness to the topic, but just an update to where we stand. So in general, end of operating agreements, end of mortgages applies to all of our funded social housing providers, where as the responsibility was downloaded from the province to the municipality back in the early 2000s, we were responsible for funding them and ensuring that they're complying with legislation and putting in place local directives and whatnot. So, but as part of the legislation, there was a benchmark funding formula, which was very prescribed, which basically consisted of the RGI subsidy, the mortgage component, and property taxes. All the mortgages are now becoming due and payable. So as mortgages become payable and paid off, we now have a change in the legislation that allows us the ability to negotiate new terms of an agreement with providers and a different way of funding. So you can imagine across the whole province, every social housing provider province-wide was funded under this benchmark model. Now, all service managers are given the ability to have those one-on-one negotiations with our providers. So we've engaged the services of Housing Services Corporation to help us do a full financial analysis of where our providers stand, what's their net operating income in their current position, what's their capital needs currently, what will their needs be at end of operating agreements or at end of mortgage at EOM, and then a projection of 10 years out. So the base requirement that will be needed under the new structure of the service agreements is that we, at a bare minimum, are to fund them the RGI subsidy. So the difference between the RGI payable and the market rent, that's the bare minimum. But we know likely that may not be enough for our providers to maintain viability and manage their buildings. So a lot of the work that we're working through with the Housing Services Corporation is just doing some projections out and doing some financial modeling as to how we may go about our negotiations when it comes time to have those one-on-one discussions with our providers. So that's it in a nutshell, really. Happy to take any questions, of course, but that's EOA and EOM. So thank you.
Thanks, Mitch. And I definitely happy to answer any questions on that particular item, because I know it gets pretty technical, but it is a really important process and has a very big financial footprint on the municipal budget. I don't know, Vice Chair, if you want me to go through, or if Councillor Ridge has a question, I think.
Councillor Ridge, if it's okay if we just hold that question, if you're able to write it down or something until the end of the section, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm almost done. Wanted to just highlight actually the good work of our department and our colleagues at Legal Services. We've finalized the Eviction Awareness Handbook, which is attached to this document as well, and has been going out to a lot of our partners and rolling out into the community. And as always, we have summarized kind of all the different affordable housing projects that are either under construction or will be under construction soon. So you'll see quite a list there. And also, we're very pleased that we were able to apply to the Housing Accelerator Fund, which is a fund, federal funding through the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, which is really focused on accelerating, as the title implies, housing development, not just affordable or deeply affordable housing, but focus on housing development across the housing continuum. But we've worked very collaboratively across departments to create an application, and I know Council has endorsed the application, and I think we're seeing we're very hopeful that will help us with getting more housing built. As part of that process, we also did an updated housing needs assessment that, you know, again, I think kind of confirms the pressures that we all see in the lower income or more deeply affordable housing and affordable housing needs in the community. So all good information. And then there's some general updates on some of the other affordable housing programs and where we are at with those. And I think that's it for this time. Always lots on the go, but always happy to answer any questions or any clarifications. I know my team is here as well to support. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. So now I will leave it to the committee members to ask questions. So Councillor Ridge, if you want to go ahead, if you still have that question.
Thank you, Vice Chair, and through you. Yes, I still do have that question. It's greatly appreciated. It's around the end of mortgages, the EOM. So it says in the report that it's expected to have a fall conclusion. I'm just curious, is that a conclusion for the entire, like all three phases, or is that just the negotiation part? I'm just for clarification purposes. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Councillor Ridge, and through you, Vice Chair. That's a conclusion of our work with HSC. So they are currently, as it states in phase 3, that's going to provide us with various financial modeling for each provider. Then we'll discuss internally, we'll build a report out, and we will come back to committee with some findings and some general approaches as what we may take moving forward. But it is going to depend on when each mortgage comes to term. We have a list of them in our department, of course, and it ranges from, you know, this year to the 2030 or so. So there's going to be, every year there's going to be more and more, and each individual provider is going to have a unique need. So hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much. Yes.
So I actually will facilitate my own question. I just have a question about the Welcome in Streets project, probably directed at Ruth. So just wondering how in ways this is different from the outreach worker program that Home Based Housing is running. And also, could you just kind of like fill us in a little bit more about the purpose? And also just a few questions about, like, will there be reporting on like data to measure kind of like its success and effectiveness?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Great questions. I will start, and perhaps my colleagues Amy and Lori will have something to add as well, because they have been very involved with this as well. So first of all, this is, I would say it's complementary to the existing street outreach program that Home-Based Housing is already delivering successfully. What we noticed, though, is in the downtown core, also with, kind of the needs of the business community and the needs of individuals that are in the downtown area, it required a bit of more of a focused approach with really a more, I would say, close involvement with the Downtown Business Association and Addictions and Mental Health Services. So we were able to model this on some existing programs in other communities that also have really taken a more focused approach downtown, because the business community obviously has a lot of involvement in this as well, and it's actually been really great to see the business community actually be involved and really also learn and kind of participate in solutions for individuals. So for instance, some great examples of some additional, like, let's say, donations of shoes, or like kind of getting really more involved in it, and not just call like street outreach and potentially share their concerns. Your question around, so it was a direction of council to do this dedicated program as a 1-year pilot. So yes, knowing that it's really important to understand the impact of the program, there's some very intentional data, like some very good focus on kind of the outcomes. So for instance, we are measuring, not only just the number of interactions, but also the types of referrals, referrals to housing, to mental health services, basic needs, all those pieces. So there will be, I believe we have a quarterly kind of data reports that we'll have obviously monthly data, but we will be reporting data on a regular basis to also ultimately look at kind of the future of this program. Ultimately, what we're really hoping is that there will be some diversion from other services. So for instance, rather than having Kingston Police involved, or maybe the emergency departments having actually, some ability to divert individuals to more appropriate solutions. I think those were your questions, River, but okay, great. And I don't know, Amy or Lori, if you want to jump in, but I feel like that's kind of the gist of it.
Nothing further to add.
Okay, and I guess just a follow-up question is, if businesses want to know how to get involved, or like where to reach out to that, have you kind of like gone through and like gone to businesses, or is there anywhere they can contact?
So the dedicated staff, the 2 dedicated staff, one through DBIA and one through AMHS, have worked closely with a small project team on communication materials. The staff have also, I think, reached out to each individual business to introduce themselves and make sure that that businesses are familiar with the program, knowing that there is, obviously it's new and it will be a little bit of a, startup to make sure that, this is, utilized well. There's been some good communication approaches with like one phone number, one email address, of making sure all the inquiries go to the 2 staff that are dedicated to this project. And we do have bi-weekly meetings with all partners involved to also problem solve or change any direction if needed, or come up with some new ideas. So it's been I think there's been some initial good positive responses, but we will continue to also update this committee on the progress of this initiative. And I guess what I should say as well is, obviously, it is, meant to be, complementary and aligned with the already existing street outreach program. So it will be a good, opportunity to review early 2024, like how we see all of these pieces move forward.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I remember hearing a while ago, I think, about some programs in other cities that were successful. So I'm glad that that was able to go forward. Okay, do we have any other members of the council who would like to ask questions? Okay, do we have any members of the public with us here today?
Through you, Vice Chair, there are currently 2 members in the public viewing gallery, and Sayyida Jaffer has raised her hand, so I'll recognize her and allow her to speak. Just one moment.
Absolutely. Go on ahead.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Ruth, for the update on what the housing department has been doing. It sounds like you've been really busy and doing lots of great work. I had a couple questions about the report, and going back to the Welcoming Streets, I'm glad to hear that it's going well. I'm still a bit unclear on what it is or what the outreach, like what the workers are doing. And like, could you walk me through what would happen? Like, does a business call if they have a complaint, and does an AMHS worker do something like what? And I just want to say, I like the fact that there's this idea to divert away from police and potentially emergency visits. I'm just not really sure what it is or what people are doing in the program. So that's one question. And then I also had a question about the eviction awareness handbook. I was glad to see that the city is doing this. I had some suggestions and feedback, and I was wondering if this is a document that you'll be updating, or is this going to stay for a period of time as is? Could you comment on that a little bit as well? And if so, how can the public give feedback on the document? Thanks.
All right, and I will quickly, just through you, Vice Chair, see if the other member of the public wishes to speak. Just as a reminder to all members of the public, if you wish to speak, there should be a yellow hand at the bottom of your screen. And if you click that, it will let me know that you would like to speak. I'm not seeing any movement, Vice Chair.
Okay. I do see Lori's hand, so should I wait until after?
So through you, Vice Chair, Lori Kidd Velkova is a member of staff, so they are able to reply to any of the things. So the other member of the public didn't wish to speak, so we are good for staff responses now.
All right, then whoever would like to go ahead, go ahead.
So through you, Vice Chair, why don't I start? And I know Lori will probably have some really great additions to the Welcoming Streets piece because she knows a lot of details on the process. So I will have Lori chat about that question. Regarding the eviction handbook, of course, we welcome any comments. We do see this as, of course, at some point, this is like done and we'll go, or I would say it's going to be a living document ultimately, but obviously we also know that we need to make sure we have this in the hands of individuals, and not everybody will have access to, the internet. So we want to make sure that we update it regularly. So if there's any specific comments or suggestions, we definitely would like to hear those, knowing that we may not be able to update it right away. But we'll kind of update it regularly, knowing that there's also ongoing changes in legislation and other pieces. So I'd say definitely welcome any comments. I think you will know where to find us, Saida. So please reach out, and then we're happy to review. And then over to Lori for Welcoming Streets.
Thank you, and through you, Vice Chair, to speak to Welcoming Streets. It's a great team concept where one staff member is part of addictions and mental health, and the other is downtown Kingston BIA staff. They work together as a team. So as a business has a question, concern, or an idea, they're welcome to call one number and or reach out, because the two team members are actually in the downtown core, walking around, bright orange shirts. So you might see them around, ball caps and lanyards, to address whatever it is the question is. So from a BIA standpoint, the local businesses are welcome to use this number to ask anything about downtown ideas or concerns they have. If it's relevant to an individual who could use some support that's been witnessed, that's where both staff are actually trained in mental health and street outreach practices, but the AMHS person can take the lead and has the ability to transport an individual who would like to get somewhere to access services. They've got water and snacks available, and they really tried to cover all the bases. And what's wonderful about the Kingston Welcoming Streets program is that they've able to build off of best practices that the program has learned from Belleville, as well as, I believe, I think it's, now I'm going to script the other, but I'm going to say Oakville. But anyways, this is a program that's now being replicated because it's found to be quite successful and just breathes new life into a downtown that people were worried would start to have less tourists, have less downtown foot traffic. Did I answer the question?
Wonderful. Can we give space for Saida to confirm if they have any other questions or anything?
Unfortunately, through you, Vice Chair, there is no real mechanism under the procedure bylaw. But however, Saida is more than welcome to either send further comments to me, and I'll send them off to Lori Kidd or any other members of staff. Just so other members of the public, if you're are listening, my email is at the very top of every agenda. And it can also be found on the Housing and Homelessness Advisory Committee webpage as well. It's just isullivan@cityofkingston.ca. Thank you.
Okay. I believe that was all of our items. So do we need a mover and a seconder for this?
Through you, Vice Chair, it is just an information report, so there's no motion necessary.
Okay. So we don't have any other business. I guess I'll just go to the date of the next meeting. It's not posted at the bottom. Do you know where it is?
I can provide it. It's just at the very bottom of the agenda. The date of the next meeting of the committee is scheduled for Thursday, October 19th, 2023 at 1 p.m.
Oh, thank you so much.
Not a problem.
All right. Thank you so much. That adjourns our meeting. Everybody.
I do need a mover and a seconder and a vote for the adjournment.
There is. Okay. I knew I was missing something. All right. So can we get a mover? Councillor Ridge. Can I get a seconder? Ian. And all in favor? All opposed? Okay. And now I can call adjournment. Wonderful. All right.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.